She's not here tonight.
Remember, she wasn't gonna be here at this time.
No, I don't remember.
Oh, well, I'm telling you.
Lucky I'm here.
All right. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with section 19.83 and 19.84 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows 3 trustees present. Trustee Boris is absent excused. And we will have a swearing in ceremony.
Thank you. Perfect. You've already verified your spelling for me. Okay. I'm gonna raise your right hand. After I say I, insert your name. Ready?
Okay.
I.
I, Sean Williams,
Repeat after me. Having been promoted to lieutenant with the Germantown Fire Department
having been promoted to lieutenant at the Germantown Fire Department
and have entered upon the duties thereof,
and have entered to the duties thereof,
swear or affirm
swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the
of
Constitution
the United States,
of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
the Code of Ordinances with the Village of Germantown,
the Code of Ordinances of the Village of Germantown,
and will faithfully and impartially
and will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of said office
will discharge the duties of said office
to the best of your ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Like, oh, yeah.
It's very different. It's all right. Take your time. You're good. Yep. Okay, this thing's gonna go. I'll get pictures of these two. Okay. Here you go. You guys take off. We can.
Now we'll have presentation of life-saving awards.
Is that better? Good evening. Thanks for coming out. We're going to be giving a life-saving award for an incident that occurred on August 14th of this year. Just to clear up a couple things, we get questioned a bunch on why we send so many pieces of apparatus to a scene. This incident, we actually had 4 pieces of apparatus. Thankfully, they were all in-service units, and the outcome of this, without having all those apparatus there, the people there may have been different. So if you see a lot of emergency vehicles at an incident, that's going to be the reason why. I mean, we have set guidelines on how we respond, but it also, just having the hands there to do different interventions and procedures is extremely important for us. So I'll give a little synopsis of the call, and then we'll hand out some awards for the members. So at 11:31, Germantown Fire Department was paged for a person who had collapsed and was not breathing. Responding units of the on-duty battalion chief, 1752, 1751, and Engine 62 arrived on scene approximately 2 minutes after the page. Crews encountered a person lying on the ground with family members doing CPR. It was reported that the patient was defibrillated once prior to GFD arrival. The Germantown EMTs and paramedics took over patient care and started advanced cardiac life-saving interventions. On-scene crews delivered an additional 4 defibrillations along with providing ALS medications and had regained pulses with patient attempting to breathe on his own prior to transport. Emergent transport was initiated to Freighter Menominee Falls, and upon arrival, patient was more responsive in attempting to remove the ET tube that was inserted, which what we used to help the individual breathe. Transfer of care was given to the Freighter ER staff, and a few hours later, the on-duty battalion chief was advised that the patient was alert and talking. Due to the prompt recognition by family members and the advanced cardiac life support provided by Germantown, the patient was successfully resuscitated. It is my honor and the chiefs behind me honor to present the following members the life-saving award. Lieutenant Jim Cregan. Newly promoted Lieutenant Sean Williams. Firefighter EMT Brandon Baylor. Firefighter EMT Aiden Brookbacher. Firefighter paramedic Josephine Ward. Firefighter EMT Aiden Wooker. And we had another member, firefighter EMT Craig Rossman, who couldn't make it tonight. We do have one more award to give out tonight, and that goes to Sam Heffercorn for providing it. He was an explorer with Germantown prior to taking the job with the Wisconsin DNR. And he was the son of the patient. So please give all these members a round of applause. Thank you for the time.
heartfelt thanks to every to Germantown Rescue Team. Your fast, your professional response was nothing short of life-saving. I am deeply grateful for your skills, compassion, dedication in that moment where every second counted. To my son, Sam, my youngest son, your quick action and calm presence in such a frightening moment means more to me than words can say. You helped save my life, and I'm endlessly thankful for your strength, your love, and I'm always proud of you. Also, I want to say a little bit something for Fairway Knolls to the staff. Thank goodness they were prepared because they had an AED on site. And the people knew how to use it. I was given a fighting chance before the rescue team arrived. The readiness made all the difference in the world. I am here today because of all of you. Thank you for your care, your courage, your commitment. You gave me the gift of more time. Those I love, and I will never forget that. Bye.
Okay, we are going to move on to citizen comments, but before we start those, I just want to do a little announcement that on Thursday, October 16th, there's a fire safety fair at the fire station from 5:30 to 8 p.m. It is open to the public. There's going to be a live car fire, vehicle extraction, hands-on CPR. You can meet the Germantown Canine. And a lot of Flight for Life might visit, and there'll be other activities there. So that's on Edison Drive from 5:30 to 8 p.m. on Thursday, October 16th. And now we will go to citizen input. Please be advised that we would like you to stay under 4 minutes. Is there anyone that wants to come forward for citizen comment?
Got it. Okay. It's great to see somebody's life saved. And you know what? As a Christian, there's in the book of Proverbs, it says, man has his plans, but God directs the outcome. And I think he should be praised for also saving this man's life, because that was an outcome from the Lord himself. I'm just going to talk about, I met with Matt Useling this week, and I went over some things of the budget that are very alarming to me, but I'm going to just cover item C under new business, the new police station. I personally think we should wait. We are millions of dollars in heavy debt in this village, and these taxpayers cannot afford that burden put on our back for a couple of years. I said before, I lived in Wauwatosa for 44 years. They shared a police and fire department all those 40 years, and it was more congested than what we had. You have a party here compared to what they had. It was crowded and jammed. And finally, when my husband died and we sold it, they finally raised the taxes and came up with it because they got caught up. But I think we need to wait as a village. And maybe some of you don't agree, I understand that. But when I talked to higher ups, I said, why are we having all these tax increases? He said, your board's the fault. They're voting for this stuff. We put the ideas before them, but they give the approval. So I guess when we talk to the board, we're talking to the board to say, you know what, hold on. Because we can't afford another $30 million. We built the Taj Mahal for garbage, which we didn't need that much. Wauwatosa's was only 15 million less, and they're bigger than we are. And you're always comparing us to other villages, so I'm comparing this tonight. And so I'm just saying, for the taxpayers, we need to wait. We might need a police department bill. I understand that. I'm not against that, but not now when we're so heavy in debt. And that's all I'm saying. Please be wise in your decisions and realize you're responsible. And if you don't challenge what comes before you, you put the responsibility on the taxpayers, and that's not right. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward for citizen comment?
Okay, Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. Good evening. Two topics tonight. The first is the ATVs. I know some people are against this, but in the northern part of the village, it sort of makes sense that some ATV use is allowed. I've been to various other villages and cities that allow golf carts in subdivisions, and it seems like it works quite well. I think it's something that we could look at again. I know it was looked at briefly a couple of years ago, but I think it needs to be looked at again. My other comment is about the police department building. The whole process for the public safety building has been kind of herky-jerky. It seems like the goalposts have moved around several times. And we do have some lofty conceptual layouts, and there have been site searches. And in the end, we actually have a fairly practical resolution for the fire department, or at least will take us to roughly 60-75% of the solution for the time being, in that we're going to renovate and add on to the existing building and give them what they say they want and need. And it's one of the good things about it is it can happen a lot more quickly than going out and buying new property. And there is already utilities and things there. So that seems like it's a practical, good solution that hopefully can move on. We can move on with. Now, I'm not against the police department being updated. I do think that we should have a cost comparison of any of the conceptual layouts that have been proposed to date, including a relook at what it would take to renovate in place. There seems to be an awful lot of space in the DPW building. There could be a temporary police department up there for the time being, and then tear everything down and rebuild in place at the police department as a possibility, or some other combination of phasing people in and out of different spaces. I think that needs another look. I am totally against $3 million worth of borrowing for a design of a police department building in the DPW, the old DPW space. It doesn't have utilities. We know it will cost roughly $1 million for that tower to get relocated, never mind anything to do with anything else. And it's going to take some time. So for too long, I think fire and police have sort of taken a back seat to DPW. I think the DPW people, they've got their lovely building, and they've got all sorts of toys. They can have less toys so that the police and fire can be caught up to where they need to be. It has been imbalanced, and I think it's time for Public Works to give over some of the treasure that we have to improve public safety for both fire and police. Those are my comments. Thanks.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward for citizen comments?
Good evening, Scott Heffley, W159 and 10514 Old Farm Road, Germantown. A couple comments. Of course, I live in the congested part of the village, south of Freistadt Road. This was brought up a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago. We had people in from the county saying it was all good, and at the very end, the police chief at the time said, sounds like a nightmare for us to try to police, and who knows where that leads. I understand. I've been to Washington County. You go up in the northern part of Washington County, you go up north of Kewaskum, out in the Kettle Moraine Forest, all there's ATV trails all over the place. So the question is, why do we need to bring it in our village? Okay, people might say, well, I think West Bend has something. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. We have to start looking at what's best for us and not comparing ourselves to every other village. There's a lot more rural areas in the northern part of Washington County than by us, right? And you know what? I see people driving UTVs on the road, ATVs on the road, and we don't have, they're on the road. I have seen them with my own eyes, and we don't have a regulation for that, okay? So don't think it's not happening. We're just waiting to see if we get it passed, and then we're gonna just follow the rules, all right? That's just a concern I have. Our public safety, we had to do a referendum to give enough officers and people to help out. Now we want to add another burden on top of them, another risk, okay? I'm not in support of it. I know the people at ATVs will disagree. I'm not in support of it, but that's just my feeling. You guys make the decisions. The old DPW site, I did go to the pop-up table they had at the farmer's market, talk to Mr. Krekel and Mr. Uselding about what's going on with all that. Of course, I pay attention to what's going on, and I don't know why we decided this is the only option. Okay, we've had a lot of options, you know, 2-in-1 buildings, you know, separate buildings over here, over there. And I told him, and I said, I'll tell you guys this, I've never seen side by side comparisons of what it cost to build the DPW, what it costs to build on site at the police station, if we go up or we go out or whatever we do, and then what it takes to do it, you know, if we have to buy property. Side by side by side. That's only fair for the trustees to have that decision, okay? And I think we haven't seen that. We've seen many different things. That's the only fair way to make a decision, or you're just guessing at it. The other thing is, I read the agenda packet. I was up here last week, I think it was, and I said, it's gonna cost a couple $1 million to run sewer and water out there, and Trustee Baum disagreed with me. Well, right in the packet, it says $2.3 million, David Baum. So it's 2 million to bring sewer and water out there. I knew that. I'm on utility advisory. I know those things. So it's 2 million bucks. That's included in there. There's a bunch of other stuff not included. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is we need to make a decision because it's a forever decision. I understand the police department does need space. They do need a lot of things, but we need to look at, and I understand this has been going on pretty much for 20 years or whatever it's been. We've been talking about it. Well, Trustee Baum, you've been on the board for 18 years. We've had a lot of discussions, probably you've been invited in or talked about. Where are we going? Why are we at this point now to borrow this much money to try to do it? We have to look at options before we make a decision. We don't even know what site fits yet. We don't know. It has not been brought up. It has not been voted on. So I guess I'm asking, take a look at everything. Mr. Krekel told me that we could do plans or estimates of the police department for less than $100,000 to see if that's a viable option. That would be money well worth spent. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward for citizen comments?
All right, good evening, Kyle Johnson, W148 and 12181 Pleasant View Drive. I'm here for the ATV UTV decision. I support that completely. I know my fellow trustee and the trustee in my district does not. I know there are going to be instances of other people doing things with types of equipment, vehicles, etc., that they're not following the rules and regulations. Don't exclude taxpayers that we're paying a lot of money to this village where we will be responsible citizens. I commend the police chief You presented a great packet of information. It has everything in there from signage to what to do, how to operate, everything for driveways. I have a UTV that's licensed through DNR. It has blinkers, a horn, hazards. It is safer than a motorcycle. You're going to tell me that that motorcycle is safer than my machine? Baloney. So I know there's going to be kids doing things on Freistadt. There's kids riding dirt bikes up and down my street. You've got them by your street. But don't take that against all of us that we're responsible. We're paying our taxes. We buy equipment. We have it licensed. We have the road kit on them. They're legal. So don't take that against everybody else in the village. I'm not going to go up and down Pilgrim doing stupid things. I'm going to stay north of Freistadt probably. But don't take it against everybody else. I can be on my tractor on the road hauling something, and I can have people on my butt on the tractor. I don't have to have signals on there. All I got to do is have that little orange sign. I got no horn on the tractor. So let's put this in comparison and let's think about it. So I understand people want to do things they shouldn't, but don't take it against all of us. And I know some people will not ever agree to this. They don't understand it. No, oh well. Everybody has their opinion. That's my opinion, but don't take it against everybody else for that. And I'd be glad to, you can stop seeing machines. And anybody that doesn't understand what we have on these machines, I invite you to come to somebody's house or go to a dealership and see it. The tools are on there to be safe. Seatbelts are on there. You fall over on that motorcycle, a helmet, that does nothing for you. So let's be realistic about it. And for spending more money, we're going to buy more buildings, do more buildings, but we're not going to do simple things like maybe this to support the community. All the communities around us, yes, they do have it. We can be supporting other businesses too. So I'd say support it. Again, the chief has all kinds of information in the packet and it's laid out. It's very clear of what has to happen. Let's follow the process and do it and talk about more so we're all on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward.
Hi.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward for citizen comments?
Hey everybody, Brad Hellison, W140N13629 Country Air Drive. So I'm north of that Freistadt line. I have 4 kids. This would be awesome just to be able to have those routes open. We have no machines like that right now. But what I do think is there's so many farmers out here. There's so many families that would use this stuff just for going to neighbors' houses. That's what we were talking about, me and my wife. So I just want to say, as a resident of that area, we are not against it. We've talked to all of our neighbors. They are not against it. And we just think it would be a very good addition to the rural area of Germantown, and not obviously going south of Freistadt because there's way more people and a lot of more vehicles. And yeah, I guess I'm just here to say I support the UTV ATV plan. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward for citizen comments? All right, we do have one letter that I will read in. Hello, we understand in the past 20 or so years, things were pushed off instead of being taken care of. This was not the residents' fault at all. This falls on the administrator and the board in the last 20 years. Yes, some of you were on the board at this time. Maybe before you start, you can explain why to the residents. So now we all pay the big time price. Thank you so much for that. We would like this administrator and board to ask the proper questions before deciding what they should. The big thing is to really listen to what the residents are willing to pay for. If this board can't decide what would be the proper cost-effective way of doing it, then please put out a referendum for the residents to decide since we are paying for it. We would like the village to keep emergency sirens. The residents have asked to keep this service. This is a public safety warning that provides a warning to everyone who is outside, and also we can hear it in our home too. Please remember, not everyone has a cell phone, or nor do they want one. This was pointed out by trustee. Her neighbor doesn't have a cell phone. Plus, others in the village do not have cell phones either. Concerning the new police department building, it is said that the cost would be $31,671,43, but what is the extra cost for items listed by owner going to cost? The water and sewer cost will be included in the cost of the build, or is this separate? Will this building end up being 40 millions in cost? Will it have high ceilings too? Do they need high ceilings, or is this just a design look? Will this build have all the bells and whistles too? Do they really need the extras? How long will design and build last in the village? What will the cost be for the utilities? It was just said for the DPW building, it costs $100,000 for the utilities for a year. They say they didn't know this, believe they can estimate the cost before the building is started. Maybe somebody should ask about it. How many bids will the village get for this design and build? The big question is how much will this cost the taxpayers? We had this discussion about the ATV, UTV before. We don't want it at all. Why the push again? Just because other communities have it does not mean this village needs it. You say you don't have enough public safety staff for the departments yet. This would be added burden on them. Also, please don't say no to 12 to 15 years would never go out on their own in one of these. What about our parks? Like that would never happen? Besides, you can't go on Wasaki Road and into the town of Germantown. We have enough traffic in our village now, don't need extra. Please vote no. We have no money for anything, including signs and labor to install them. Please really think before you vote on anything and pass on to the village board for approval, the Schneiders. One last call. Is there anyone else that wants to come forward for citizen comment? Okay, we will move on to the meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None, motion carries. Then we move on to reports, and we'll start with the police monthly report.
You had a monthly report. Reports are up from 2024, probably about 75 additional reports we've gotten. Arrests are up. Those are up probably almost 30 arrests since 2024, same month. Citations are down because there's more criminal complaints, which are being referred to the DA's office that we're sending up to them. Crashes are up, probably about 25 since last year. Other than that, you'll see all the calls in the brochure, the training. You have a list of the training. Out of all the training, see the hours, about 400 hours of training, only 30 hours of it was overtime. So that means we're trying to do most of it while the officers are working or adjusting their shifts.
Anybody have any questions for the chief? Okay, then we'll move on to the fire department monthly report.
Fire department calls were down slightly for the month of September compared to the prior months. In addition to that, we will be starting a new hire academy in a week and a half or 2 weeks at the fire department for 3 new members that we are bringing on to try and fulfill the total of the referendum staffing. In addition to that, the calls are tracking as the normal areas in the village as they have in the past.
Any questions for the chief?
Nope.
Okay, then we'll move on to overtime report.
Overtime is slightly down from August compared to last year. This time it's slightly up, probably due to the wage increases in 2025.
Hours are down, but cost is up.
Correct.
Thank you.
Fire department hours are up compared to August. However, as a whole, they are down compared to 2024.
Move on to policy updates.
None for fire.
Okay, we have no unfinished business, so we will move on to new business. Item A, Fleet Farm Oktoberfest Outdoor Entertainment Permit Application at N96W18200 County Line Road, and this is an action item.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carries. Move on to item B, discussion on ATV, UTV use on village roads, and this is discussion only, and trustee Rick Miller will be presenting.
No, I need the projection. Where was it?
Oh, I can do that. That's in the back. Let me go get that.
Oh, well.
Oh, the last item?
You sure?
It's gonna be the sirens.
It's going to take just a minute before I can get my presentation. There we go. Hold on. Or less.
Oh, my dad.
No. Would have gone and visited them.
Well, the PowerPoint broke. Hold on. Guess while I'm setting up, Chief Merton, if you have some comments you want to make about this. I also have Tim Rohr here from Kettle Moraine ATV Association, and you also sit on the State Association. Is that correct?
I know this was brought up last year. A decision was made not to allow the ATV, UTV on the village roads. I've talked with area communities as far as their enforcement action, and they have basically 0 to 1 or 2 complaints reference UTVs within a year. My recommendation is that these individuals are spending $20,000-$30,000 on these UTVs. They're not going to basically go out there and rip up our roads to lose that privilege of be able to drive their UTVs. So that's my take on it. As far as enforcement, as far as more work for us, I think it's going to be like the first couple weeks where it's something new, so people are going to be out there, and it's a matter of learning the rules of the road and wearing the proper equipment and having the proper, whether it's helmets or wearing their seatbelts. They have to abide by all the rules of the road, just like a vehicle does. So I think there's going to be a learning curve for everybody, but I think in the long run, I think it's going to be a benefit for the village.
Trustee Pieper?
Rick, or Trustee Miller, sorry. I back you on this. I have 3 children that are old enough to be ATV safety certified. All 3 children have done so. Having as many kids as I do and as many ATVs up north and machinery, it's not a problem of children going haywire on this, to your point, Trustee Baum, but yeah, there's always going to be one bad apple in the bunch, and why should that ruin it for the rest of this village? I find it unfair that we are one of the very few municipalities that has not passed this. And honestly, I'll make a motion to send this to village board for approval.
Well, thanks. Thanks for the support. And again, my name's Rick Miller. I'm one of the trustees here, trustee District 2. I live on Freistadt Road. So I've got a little rural to the north and I have some more urban to the south. I'm bringing this up for several reasons again. And really, I want to just use this as an education piece tonight and let you know why we're considering this again. Number one, what changed in the last couple of years? Well, the surrounding communities have had have adopted ATV ordinances. Richfield is one of them. They're adjacent. Hartford, Jackson has already had one. The other counties do not yet. All right, so Ozaukee County and Waukesha County, the adjacent ones, Menominee Falls and Mequon, do not. ATVs are increasing in popularity. A lot of residents are interested in utilizing ATVs on the road. There's a lot of usage among the entire state, and but not here quite yet. The misconception is that you're going to be zipping up and down the road. Well, there are requirements to legally operate an ATV on the road. And there's many statistics that show how safe it is. So I want to go through some of the nomenclature real quick. What's an ATV? Basically, an ATV is the one you sit on. It's the one with the handlebars, 4 wheels, sit on that's an ATV. What most people have now are a UTV, a utility vehicle, terrain vehicle. It's got doors sometimes, it has a roll cage, it has seat belts, and they are very safe. Speed limits, they can go as fast as a car. I can attest to that. I do own an ATV. So who can operate on ATV routes legally? And when I say ATV, that's kind of a generic term for all-terrain vehicles and utility vehicles. So number one, they must be registered with the state of Wisconsin and have registration stickers on it, and then have your name, your plate on the back of it as well. Any operator that's born on January 1st, 1988 or after has to have their ATV UTV safety certification course completed to operate. Between the ages of 12 and 15-year-old, you must be accompanied by an adult. 16-year-old years and older can operate unaccompanied. Under 18 must wear a DOT approved helmet. And small ATVs under 200 cc's are not allowed on the roads. They're just too small. Continuing on, UTVs are basically the same thing. They have to be registered just like the ATVs. UTVs must have seat belts and a roll cage. Operators, same thing. If you're born after January 1st, 1988, you have to have the certification test, and you must be 16 years old to operate. Anyone riding under 18, again, has to have a helmet. So what roads can become ATV routes? Any municipal controlled road. The county has already said that if the municipality has an ordinance, that any county highway can become an ATV route. State highways can also become an ATV route if the speed limit is under 35 miles an hour. So you're first going to say, what about Mequon Road? Yes, honestly, through the village, it can be until it hits 55 miles an hour. Highway 145, same thing. It can be. The village has the control of what can and cannot be used, but that is eligible to become ATV routes. And then roads adjacent to jurisdictions that have ATV codes already. So Amy Bell Road and Pioneer Road would be eligible. Those are our borders. Richfield and Jackson already have those ordinances in place. So what can't become an ATV route? Federal highways, interstates, state highways, like I said, speed limits over 35, and roads adjacent to jurisdictions without ATV codes. So Wasaukee Road is off limits, County Line is off limits, and for the time being, the town of Germantown adjacent roads cannot be utilized either. However, I have a feeling that if we adopt a code that the town of Germantown will also adopt one. So what's the steps to get this approved? Well, right now it's just the information that I'm providing, and that's to get the discussion started. We're going to be here with public safety for discussion and approval. It does need village board approval. We have to adopt a code and an ordinance in order to do this. And then there has to be signage placed on the ATV routes. That's pretty small to see, but I do have in the packets, and anyone here can go online and get these packets. I do have all the ordinances from the municipalities within Washington County that do have ATV routes already adopted. And then there's some informational links here, state information, Washington County's code on ATVs, and then information from Wisconsin ATV Association and the Kettle Moraine, our local ATV association here. So with that, I will open it up to questions. And before I do that, Tim, do you want to add anything to this? You have to come up to the mic if you do.
I think you did a fantastic job of presenting the information at this stage. Obviously, as you go forward, there will be further discussions and so on and so forth. But as a starting point, I think the information has been very good. But I'm open to answering any questions that anybody may have.
I'll make a motion to send this to the village board with positive approval.
I'll second. I would just like to say that I live on the northern side of the village also, and I would like to see it stay rural. I would like to see the farmland stay, so I don't have a problem with the ATVs in that area north of Frystad Road. When you get more into the village, that's where I would have an issue with it, and I believe we would set those roads, correct?
Yeah, so part of that, I did bring a map up here, and just a high overview map is the red lines are not eligible to become ATV routes. The
not
yellow
here.
lines currently are not eligible, but can be at a later time. Anything else is open, but like I said, the village will designate what are ATV routes and what are not, what's acceptable and what isn't. I can tell you, well, Tim just told me that Wisconsin Dells, everything is open. Hartford, everything is open. There is no restrictions on their roads at all. So it is getting adopted in many municipalities to open it up to the entire community.
Okay, and I was just told it's discussion only, so we can't vote, so I'll remove my second.
Sure,
I'll
I
put the
will
motion.
just request for the village administrator, who I know is here to hear this, and put it on the village board agenda to be voted on. Thanks, Steve.
Trustee Baum?
Yeah, I can't support it. Unfortunately, I do sit on my back porch and watch the 10, 12-year-old kids with 8 people in one of these vehicles running up and down my street. And my intersection is one of the most dangerous intersections in this village. I probably call the police department and the fire department more than anybody else in this village. To watch these little kids go across Highland Road, coming through Mequon, going up Highland Road, they're already doing it. They're already violating the rules. I talked to the police chief just the other day about the next wave of this, which is these electric motorcycles. I was coming up Pilgrim Road, and there is some young kid all blacked out, no turn signals, no headlight, no eye protection. And these young people aren't following the rules as it is. I have a problem with putting these type of vehicles in the hands of the young people. I see that it says 12 to 15 have to be accompanied by a parent, but when there's 8 little ones in that vehicle and they're not a parent around, I got a problem with it. It's illegal.
It's illegal.
So I have a problem with it because I know that they're going to do that.
Trustee Peeper?
What would change?
Yeah, they're already
They're
doing
already
it,
doing it.
so there's nothing that would change from making it legal for all the people who would actually follow the rules. And then I have a question for you, please, Chief Merton. How many tickets or lives have been lost? How many tickets have been written or lives been lost, adults and kids, in the village of Germantown that you're aware of from ATVs?
Moot point, because they're not allowed right now.
They're still out there, like you just said.
They're not, that shouldn't be.
You just said they're still out there. And yes, they are actually allowed, but on private property.
Property, I don't have a problem.
Are you aware, have you guys written any tickets that you're aware of, or?
I'm not aware of any accidents where the individual died on a roadway with an ATV. As far as violations, majority of the time, it's usually a warning that we're issuing to them. If it's repeat offenders, I would hope that citations would be issued to try to get the point across. I can't tell you for sure, though, on how many warnings or citations we've written for that.
Yeah. So this hopefully will be put forth again in front of the village board, and we can, I mean, our votes right here won't even matter unless we put it in front of the village board. Trustee Miller, you have my support.
Okay, all right. Unless you have anything else?
I don't have anything else right now, no. I think, one of the steps in this is developing that map, and then it goes for approval as well. So in concept, if, again, the steps are, if this does move forward to the village board and they approve of that, then we would develop the map and the ordinance in order to adopt this.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we will move on to new business item C, estimated cost to construct a new police station on the site of the former Public Works buildings. And that's an action item.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think until we actually have a locked down site planned for the police station, I do not think we should even be discussing this. I think this needs to be a very in-depth discussion and exploration of where the police department should be built, the location. And I think first and foremost, we should get a heat map of all of the police calls of where officers are being dispatched. We should get that first before we even start talking about a location. As Chief Delane did, he provided the heat map for the fire department. I find that very helpful and in determining where something should be placed. So honestly, I think we need a heat map. I think we need to explore locations and zero it down to at least 3 that we approve of and push that forward then, and then we can start walking. Right now, we're crawling, and I know it's painful to all of us, but I think as soon as we get that step completed, we'll be on our way.
Is it possible to do a design without having a set place? I mean, how much does it affect the design?
To some extent, we can do that. And in fact, I would say that's something we already did.
For the Public Works building.
No, for the public safety, for police and fire. If you recall, about a year ago, we did present to this committee and to the village board several options for police and fire. We looked at, for the police department, we looked at this site. We looked at the potential for a combined facility. We looked at a couple of other sites within the village. And it is something we can go further down that route. I guess what I would suggest, though, is if the village board really wants to look at other potential locations that we don't own right now, if that's the direction the board wants to go, and that's a completely legitimate direction. I do think that we need to And I kind of listed that out as one of the three alternatives here, that we would need to take that on as a study and some analysis.
Yeah.
So
Did you look at a heat map? So
Uh,
you've looked at a lot of sites, you've looked at a lot of data, but have you looked at an actual heat map of where the calls the
Yes.
officers are asked to be responded to?
Yes, yeah, that was one of the things that a year ago was presented, if you recall. There was more discussion on this when it related to the fire department than the police department. We talked about like the northeast corner of the village, but that same analysis was done.
I don't remember ever seeing a heat map for the police department, though.
Yeah, it was a part of that study. This might not be a bad idea to send that out and so you can kind of take a look at that again. We can do more analysis and look at other sites. There's a cost to doing that.
Yeah, I'm highly against the Public Works being the site. I think the cost of sewer and water, several $millions to put sewer and water out there. We went through this with Public Works. We know the drawbacks. We know the cost. Just because it's a piece of land that we own does not mean we should spend millions of dollars of putting sewer and water out there, when we could literally give it to the Little League field or the Junior Warhawks, and because they're leasing it anyway, and do 100% of the maintenance there. Where would the fields go?
Well, this would not affect the fields that exist. But what I would recommend, what I'd suggest is to keep this process moving along is whichever one of these alternatives this committee would like, that you make that motion and forward it to the village board with that motion.
I do like the idea of the existing police station being looked at, because I do have concerns, I guess, with the tower. I mean, what is the cost? Does that have to be relocated if the police department moves elsewhere?
The towers would not be affected. And there's two towers. There's one here. There's also one up at the DPW building. Those towers are leased out, and those would not move. And there wouldn't be any impact on either the tower here on Mequon Road or the tower up on Division and Pellegrom.
Trustee Baum?
Has a study been done, a building of this size, can it be on well and septic instead of running sewer out here?
Probably not. It's not something we would recommend. That conversation did come up as part of our analysis again a year ago. That was one of the things that we discussed. And I think the recommendation from our design team is that it would not be a good long-term decision to put it on well and septic. And I can point out there is a cost to get water and sewer up there. We've specified that.
Yep.
Right now, the estimate is at $2.3 million. As we've discussed this with the design team, and again, I'm not advocating for one particular site or another. We can go through a process and look at other locations if that's the direction the board would like to go. But I would keep in mind that each site does have expenses. And one of the advantages of this site is the topography, which there's some slope there, which does reduce the cost of other site preparation expenses. So that is a factor that should be looked at as well. The total cost to get any site ready for the police station, and not only just fixating on one particular cost. The other thing that I would mention, and this is something we could look at a little bit further, there are some other options to help spread the cost of that $2.3 million for sewer and water that some communities have done, that the village has done for projects like deferred special assessments or things along those lines, if that's something the board is interested in getting more information on.
Would these lines be utilized for any other purpose in that area, or is this dedicated just for the station?
I think we would build them according to village standards, which would mean that other people could connect into them.
But there's no other land out there for development. So really, we're running them out there just for.
There's no discussion of development. There is other land out there that could potentially be developed and then connect into those. In particular, there's some, large areas on the west side of Division Road, south of Fond du Lac Avenue, that's land that could be developed and connected in.
Right. It's a little hard to make a decision when we don't know what the cost would be, even a general cost to rebuild where they currently are versus what you're proposing to go on the DPW site, or even with buying another parcel of land that already has sewer and water and how that offsets. So for me, I really would
Well,
like
then,
that information.
what I would suggest, if there are some things you'd like, I would suggest making a motion and forwarding that to the village board so they can authorize that additional work to happen. And those were things, if you remember back in July, when I came forward, those were items that I had listed out. And at that time, the committee didn't want to move forward with those, but, we can start looking at some of those other options.
Yeah, it was another rushed end of the meeting and we voted quickly because we ran over.
Right, it was, yeah, we may need to look at 5:30 or.
Okay, I don't know, does you guys have a thoughts for a motion?
I'll make a
Or
motion
to
to
get
move
more
it.
information?
I'll make a motion to move it to the village board to give direction on what the village board wants to do with pricing up 3 different parcels and bringing a multiple design concepts back through the committee.
You mean like DPW current and buying land and building there?
Yep,
Compare
sure.
those 3?
Sure.
And I'll just say, if that is the direction that we go, then at the next village board meeting, I could have cost estimates as far as what it would take to provide that information.
Mhm.
So, and the board could direct staff
And
to do that.
it's been so long since we saw this stuff. I think that's the problem I'm having. Is I remember talking about multiple sites and I just don't remember what we talked about a year and a half ago. So if we bring it back forward, bring it back through and refresh ourselves, then maybe I'll have a different opinion. But right now I just don't remember I know we talked about a bunch of stuff. I just don't remember.
And if it would be helpful, we could kind of recap that in a presentation as well.
Okay. Trustee Peeper, did you have thoughts?
I'd like to make a different motion.
Okay, I'll repeal my motion then.
I'd like to make a motion to send this to the village board to lock down and solidify a location for the building. I think even if we need to go into closed session so we can go into negotiating purposes for buying land that is not ours, that we don't currently own, but I think we need to lock down, we need to figure out the location before we figure out anything else.
I think that's the point of looking at 3 options.
Yeah, but I think there's more than 3, and I think the village board needs to sit down and work through the problem,
My problem with that is picking the location first, is we're tying ourselves to location and then trying to make everything fit after that.
But it actually can work in your favor, because if you pick a proper location, you can put whatever design for buildings on it. If it's, a complementary location for the police station. So I'm not worried about the design. The design will get more and more expensive if we buy or use a parcel of land that isn't adequate for all the needs, or you have to kind of mess with the design and structure of it to make it work. We don't want to make a puzzle piece fit where it literally doesn't fit. So I think we need to figure out the location first, and it'll be easier to then create the design. And I don't think it's right to spend money on a design when we don't even have a location picked. That to me is a waste of money.
Do you have a question? No? For me, it's still difficult with that, because then we're not seeing a cost comparison to other options. We're just tying ourselves into that option and then doing the design from there, when it might be less expensive to rebuild at the existing. I don't know. We don't have that information.
As I recall, we looked at the existing location and it was too small.
Well, it wasn't, the existing location was not included in the original analysis. And I think that the thoughts, and that was to some extent, the thought of the former chief, Chief Snow, who felt that it was too small and that logistically the staging would be problematic. I think that Chief Merton has some other thoughts on how that might be able to work. We haven't gone through to any sort of lengthy analysis on whether or not that would be possible or what that cost might be. Overall, the site, there would be challenges with it, like there is going to be on any site, but it could be possible. So, and again, even if this is a difficult issue, and another thought is you don't necessarily have to agree on one of these three alternatives as the committee here today. You can forward those to the village board and have that conversation with the full board about which of these alternatives do you really want to look at? Do we want to go out and do like a full site analysis? I would say if you do forward this to the board, as part of that conversation, we could just, plot out a map that shows parcels that are for sale right now that meet the police department's needs, and present that information as part of the discussion. We can cost out what it would take to do some engineering and architectural analysis of the existing site. Those are some things that we could put together to kind of help the full board just pick a direction, or maybe they want to look at more than one of these alternatives. And then, as was suggested in public comments, do kind of a side-by-side analysis of the different items that are out there.
I like
The old Quick Trip.
That was a site that we did look at as part of that original analysis, and that site was too small. We weren't able to fit the size of
Expand it?
Well, I don't. Again, I have to go back to the original analysis. I don't know that there's any adjacent land that could be brought into that. If you think about that site, it's pretty much surrounded by roads on every side.
There's a solution there, though.
I mean, there's a solution to, I mean, any site you pick could be made to work.
Well, buying a parcel of land for, say, $500,000 would be much more affordable than spending $2 or $3 million to bring water and sewer to the old Public Works building. I mean, come on here.
Well, but any piece of land is going to have some site prep costs.
Sure.
And I think it's looking at what are the total costs, including the acquisition of the property, and then the other site prep. So, and again, that's something we can look at, but like it was like we had to with the DPW facility, it takes there's more analysis that needs to be done, and some engineering work, some architectural work that has to be done.
And the village owns the roads. It doesn't own, we do own Maple Road, correct?
Yes, that's.
And we do own the frontage road by the old Quick Trip, correct?
Yes.
So we could move our own roads if needed to make something work.
That could be possible. Again, I don't know what, I have no idea.
Cost.
Yeah.
Another cost.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, but it's less than $2 or $3 million.
But I do like the idea of taking this before the full board, because this is a lot of money, and I think everybody should be talking about it, not just the 3 or 4 of us if we're all here. It's a huge decision, and I do like having that additional information so we can make a very well-educated choice for something that's this much money.
Yeah.
So
what's the motion?
If I could read these back for you. Trustee Baum, yes, I can go ahead.
He withdrew his, I believe.
True, he repealed it. Did you need to hear it for the record in case he wanted?
I thought you made a motion.
Trustee Pieper made a motion to send this item to the village board to lock down a location for the police before we continue with anything else.
Yeah, but we didn't have a second for that. I'd like it to be a little bit more expansive to what you included. as
Okay,
far as
I with-
having that additional information to present to everybody.
So
I withdraw my motion and I'll make a motion to send this to the village board to have every member of the board present to determine a location and have cost comparisons present in front of us to make that determination.
What-
How's that sound?
what I generally do with my clients is my clients look at a variety of sites. We look at them, we narrow them down. What building will fit? Here's the three most prevalent ones that they believe are most cost effective. We do very 20,000 foot. Here's how the building can fit. Here's how the building can fit. Here's how the building can fit. We do have our contractor come in and do a very rough estimate. It's not going to be a detailed, you're not going to hold anybody to it. When it comes down and says it's $40 million instead of the $30 million, I don't want to hear the complaints because it is a high level overview. It is a very rough comparison. We think this site, we think this site, we think this site. Don't hold anybody to those numbers. But it starts us to see what the pros and cons of multiple sites are. That is what I generally do with my clients. I would like to see that.
So basically what we want is, I guess, the current DPW site, the current police station, and if we found land, we could put it on. Those are the three we're talking
That
about.
the third one leaves, the third one is such a gray area. I think it needs to be narrowed down. I don't like the DPT. I would not vote for that ever. I think it should be taken off the table. And I think other options should be presented of land we do not own, possibly.
Because you mentioned village properties having that information.
Well, and that's, if you recall, that was just a couple of months ago, we did go through that, and there really aren't any other sites that the village owns that would be suitable
On
for
Maple
this.
Drive, kind of by Quick Trip. It's actually south of the freeway, though. Yeah, it's swampy, but we haven't filled in swamps before.
I'm not sure which parcel you're talking, I'm not,
West of Maple Road, south of 4145.
that is all wetland, but you're talking about back behind the Willow Creek Business
But
Park?
maybe by possibly putting clean fill in there and building it up would then maybe with the flooding on the actual freeway, should that happen again?
Well, and I'm not the expert on filling in wetlands, but I know that, like, from our experience with the DPW facility, that anything over 10,000 square feet has to go through a special approval process with the DNR.
And so you have to create wetland somewhere else in the state when you're filling in current, yes.
Which is a very expensive proposition.
Last time I looked at it, it wasn't.
We got a group. You're trying to select a site right now. You're picking out other sites to look at.
Because I'm saying the three that were given to us are not adequate.
I'm saying send it back to this group and let them find three good sites.
Find us better sites then. That's my motion.
Well, if you want to keep things simple, and I think hearing the discussion, if you just forward this to the village board without a recommendation, and I've heard the feedback, we'll include a list of sites that are for sale as a map. We'll provide a summary again of the original study and kind of the history of what we've done here. And we'll get some cost estimates as far as what it would take to look at these other options more in depth. So
Okay.
I think those are the three things, and then we'll have that. And then all you need is a motion to forward this to the village board without.
Motion to forward this to the village board
Without a
for
recommendation.
discussion
Yeah.
And a possible action.
and possible action.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Are you doing the grant application, Chief Merton? Okay. Item D, resolution authorizing a grant application for funds to update the village's emergency alert sirens.
I'll make a motion to approve new business item D for discussion.
I'll second.
Okay, so Chief Merton, please explain to me that this is purely for applying for the grant, correct?
Correct.
This is not locking us into anything. This is literally applying for a grant.
Yes, we have to basically get recommendations. Actually, they recommend letters of recommendation as far as keeping weather sirens. This resolution will be attached to the grant as support of that, if the village board so chooses to approve it.
We all know my thoughts on the weather sirens. I have done more research, I guarantee you, than anyone else here regarding these weather sirens. I have spent many hours looking into them. I have no issue applying for the grant at this time. However, the next two items on the agenda, I will have much more to say. So I made my motion, it was seconded.
Yeah, you seconded.
Okay, any discussion on the grant?
No.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? We are running way over, so I would entertain a motion to table items E and F until next.
I'll make a
month's
motion to
meeting.
table new agenda items E and F until the next public safety meeting, or if we possibly meet again in between the next scheduled meeting. Is that okay?
That's okay with me.
All right, because I feel like these two items could be their own agenda.
True. We could look into a special meeting.
Yeah. I would be for that.
Okay.
I think I need a second though.
You do need a second.
Did you?
I'll second.
Thought you did.
I just said I agree, sorry. All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? None. This meeting is adjourned at 7:18. We'll just need a couple minutes to set up for the village board meeting.
I am going to have to do the village board meeting.
No.
Because I have to go drive kids all around town.
You can't do it. Not allowed.
Like I can come late, like back late. I've got a.
Not allowed.
Not allowed?
Not allowed.
Well, I'm gonna wait. How about you try and stop me?
No,
I didn't think so.
just gonna bitch. So all I'm gonna do is bitch. Be honest.
Who else to be a journalist? What about that's going to take a lot of discussion?